he goes on and sells arms and guns that his dad makes and buys, and they flip them for more money. And he becomes kind of a better salesman than his dad is, literally. And he sort of falls in and somewhat starts to find family and even a maybe stronger father figure on the streets. And he finds his place, and he starts dealing drugs as well, and becomes pretty successful at it. Around that time, the FBI comes to him and says, "We want you to be an informant," which he says, "No way." And he goes, "Oh, yes, you will, because we've traced bodies back to guns that your dad made, and if you don't, he'll go down." So the young man was put in quite a pinch of a scenario. He picked up the moniker White Boy Rick, and that fit the meter. And it was a novelty story when he got busted, being the only white boy in this all-black community selling. And he had the bumper sticker, and he had the title White Boy Rick. And you know, he was, from my research, he was made out to be much more of a dangerous Scarface kingpin than actually he might have really been. And so when he's busted, obviously him and his dad go to the FBI and say, "Look, we were giving you information. You know, you're gonna help us out." And, you know, I wasn't there on how that negotiation went down, but what was said and what was promised isn't exactly what happened. And Rick went down. At the same time, they just passed that 600-gram law in the state of Michigan, so he went down for life. He's funny, he's got a great sense of humor and a great heart. And he's going to engage with a lot of this fun. And so I hope it's going to be fun for him, but also I hope he can find himself through this, because his life's about to do a 180 for sure. You've got a great drama that's based in truth. You've got the bones for a great drama. But it's also, this thing's got some pop, man. It's got some urban, progressive, authentic relativity to right now, our times. And, you know, when I say it's about single parent homes and about family and about guns and about, you know, incarcerations and someone doing more time than maybe they should, and even about someone getting out because we're going to make a movie about it, all these things that are relative and say a lot about our system and American life, poverty or not. All those things are there to create, to have the bones for a great drama.
I didn't speak to the real Dawn, but we were all in contact with the real Rick Wershe. So as soon as we got there for rehearsal, there'd be loads of times where we'd be just around the dinner table and Yam would say, "Okay, I'm gonna call Rick now," because he was in a constant dialogue with Rick pretty much every day. I mean, since a year before he even started prep. And he had a really close relationship with him. So he would then get Rick on the phone and pass the phone around the table, and we'd all just have a chat with him, talk to him about how the movie was going. And then there were a couple of times where I had a kind of long personal conversation with Rick about Dawn, and he told me a few stories about her and her life, which really helped to kind of influence the way that I was going to play her. Ricky and Dawn's relationship is more than just a brother and sister relationship. It's also a kind of, she mothers him to an extent because, you know, their mother is absent. So she really is the only, apart from the grandma, she's the only kind of young female figure in their family. And I think they're quite close in age, which makes their bond even tighter. I think she really does represent the kind of like familial heart of the film. And she kind of keeps Rick kind of grounded to an extent. He was absolutely amazing. I mean, it's so brave to do what he's done. And he's so lively, he has so much energy and real effervescence, but I think that's what the character needed, because as much as he's trying to be this kind of like hard character in the circles that he mixes in the kind of curry circles, he really brought a kind of childish playfulness to it, and I think that's what makes us really sympathize for him as an audience, is like this person is still a kid. And also when Jan asks us to improvise and stuff, something that I, as an actress, I've done more movies than him, but that terrifies me. But he's very front-footed, he would always be really up for it. There were a couple of scenes where we literally just made up the whole thing, and I was really taking the lead from him. So I had so much respect for him in that side of it. Jan, he didn't initially say anything. He kind of just like let me run with it. So I spent a lot of time with the acting coach, with our dialect coach, kind of on my own. And it was really when we arrived on set that he really started to give me a lot of direction and let me play with the character. He has a brilliant way of directing in that he you won't really rehearse a scene. So you kind of gets all the actors on set, and he works with a handheld camera, and he just gets you to play the scene over and over and over again, say like 10 times. You'll just work it through without him directing. So you'll work it through and he'll cut, go, start again, cut, start again, cut, start again, until he finally finds a shape of it that he likes. And then he goes, okay, we're gonna keep that, we're gonna keep that, we're gonna keep that. And that's when he moves in for coverage, which is an amazing way of working, because it feels like you're really partaking in the direction that the scene is going, rather than just being told exactly what to do initially.
He always knew what he wanted, but what he really wanted from me is authenticity. He just wanted somebody to bring it to the table, you feel me, to show him exactly how it really be. Richard Wershe Jr. was played by Matthew McConaughey, and he is amazing. He's like an all-star. Like, that man knows, he knows a lot, and he's been through a lot, and he's really somebody really good-hearted, and he's really down to earth. There was so much going through my mind. I was thinking like what could this do for me, and like everything that was involved, and basically I just took it all in, took a deep breather, and I told him, yeah, I'd do it. We actually talked on the phone as we were shooting. We would talk like 3 times a week, once, twice a week, and we would just talk about cars, talk about like stuff that he's done and what we're going to do when he comes out. We actually plan on going on a fishing trip.
White Boy Rick is about, you know, these events that happen with this kid, Richie, right? It's the 1980s, really the height of the crack epidemic, really, you know, and it's about how he became an FBI informant, you know, not off of strength of him going to look for that, you know, but it was more like just unforeseen circumstances, you know, in the relationship between him and his father. He just finds himself in these bad circumstances, you know, and he becomes an FBI informant, but then the people that hired him kind of just, you know, leave him to the wayside. He's a beast, man. Like, he's always ready to learn, and every time he would get on set, it's almost like you would see his eyes open up 10 times bigger, because he knew it would be something else new coming, and he just want to catch it right. And he still has the fun of just being young, man. It's fun. It's almost like having another brother. He just got better head of me, you know what I'm saying? You have a movie that's about actual people, so it's not too much you gotta far-fetch for. It's not too much you gotta try to write in. You don't have to BS too much. You know, it's all there. You're just telling it with different faces, you know? And so, yeah, I think people are just really probably grasped to the fact that it's just real.
I liked the fact that a guy was telling a story about that really happened and examining the fabric of the family and how it all went down. Jan's got a style, and people will hear from him down the road. He's going to be big stuff. He's got a dexterity that's good. His relationship with Matthew seems to be very good. Everybody on the crew goes the extra mile for him every day, and he seems to go the extra mile for them. So they've molded into a team. And I think that's a gift. And very few directors have that. Jan's greatest ability is he's Lombardi-esque. In other words, he can coach. And he took a kid who's never acted. And he's made him believable and honest and touching and told the story that way. That's very hard to do.
It's actual people who knew this person that you're playing, so I feel like, you know, it gets kind of more deep once it's being, you know, kind of based on the real story, real people. It's more people who's going to be watching, and they want to, you know, they want to feel as if that person is back, or, you know, it's that arrogance for the people who did know him. So it's definitely a little added pressure, but I like it. First meeting with him about this character, he told me, he was like, Freaky Steve it's you. Like, you know, it's being yourself. It's like, he's the outrageous one in the crew. When he first met me, we had like this quick connection. It's just like we were just laughing and vibing, and it's like literally just had met, but he was like, he liked the vibes and just how free I was. And I want to say I auditioned for, auditioned for Boo. So I auditioned for Boo, and Freaky was the role that he ended up rolling with for me, because he was like, I know you need, I need you to play a role, but he still wasn't sure. So it was just crazy, that initial connection with Yan. And from there, it kind of made all of this so much, you know, smoother and easier. But I met him, I'm like, okay, he's, you know, he's definitely does what he wants. Like, he's like young, he's having fun. This is all new to him. I saw, you know, then in his eyes that it was all new to him. He was just in a world of, you know, kind of what he didn't know. But I feel like to his characters, he's bringing that honest, because he kind of does have a sense of some of the stuff that's going on in the movie.
It's Richie Wershe. And they could write that down as the informant and how much they paid him and the information they got. And they could, I mean, according to the FBI that I spoke to, they could get away with it because there was a senior and a junior. You just take off the senior, you take off the junior. There's no way to know that he's only 14 years old. You know, the character, I think, was originally written as a man. And, but he wanted me for it, and he wanted that sort of play, in that, to not really, he did sort of want it to be more diffused, not really know if she was good or bad, you know, good cop, bad cop. Like, she's sort of both. and, you know, to sort of let the audience decide where they fall on her. And so that gave me also a lot of play in the scenes too, which was really fun to explore. And he was great with his research and sharing that and all these. He had all incredible images, incredible music. And he's just an inspiring guy, you know, and he found Richie, who's incredible. And he's an incredible actor, person, presence. Like, he's just so much fun to be around, and you can't help but fall in love with him. You know, you just want to take care of him. So I think some of that is real for Agent Snyder, because it was real for me, you know, making it. He's just a natural, he's just in it. It's just very real for him, you know? It's like, it's not like he's acting. So actually the danger is that it could feel like you're overacting in a certain way, because he is so in the moment. Every moment is happening for him. And every moment, the stakes are high for him and feel very real for him. And he's not playing a street kid. You know, it's not like some boy who is an actor in LA or New York who got this part. This is a kid they found in Baltimore, you know? He's incredible because he's just so, he's so good. And he also, again, like I remember Jans showed me like some footage that they had done together, like sort of test footage for Richie. And they play off each other so beautifully, because Matthew too is like an animal. You know, it's like he's a great actor, and he's played so many different characters, but every time he's on screen, you just completely believe he's that person, and he's so inside that person's skin that you don't even imagine that he's the same guy who did that part and that part. He's just so different every time, and it's like going to some dreamscape, you know? And he can sort of do anything.
To me, at its core, this film is about a 15, 16-year-old kid who's kind of fighting to keep his family together. And to me, that's what, you know, yes, it's set against this backdrop of the war on drugs. It's set against the backdrop of like the decay of inner cities, and it's set against all sorts of different things. But at its core, what I think is universal about it is that this kid struggling to keep his family together in this kind of, and I think that people will relate to that. We spent over a year going all around the country, to schools, to inner city schools, to, you know, boxing gyms, just street casting, to try to find a kid who kind of had a similar background, but also someone who had the chops to carry a movie. And that was really a big risk, but something that was, I think that story of you know, Richie Merritt, who plays Rick in the film, is as compelling as anything. I think without it's not as powerful. What's so incredible, what was so great about Richie is every single time we read him, he grew and got better and better. That there was, at first we were thinking, oh, there's a few contenders, and then Richie, and then he's quickly emerged as the top leading candidate for this. And every time we worked with him, we did chemistry reads with Matthew, you could feel him growing as an actor, really, and being comfortable in front of the camera and opening himself, his heart and soul. His story is part of this film. It's too. Matthew McConaughey is a consummate professional. He brings a humor, humanity, and humility to his, you know, he embodies this kind of optimism that the character has, this kind of tomorrow things are going to get better kind of a feeling, this kind of quintessential American spirit. He's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know. And Matthew brings a kind of humor, energy, and also like a real pathos to the part.
He's kind of a man forced into a situation, you know, and his need to survive kind of makes him really good at the situation, and he does a lot of stuff. His occupation is one thing, and then there's who he is. And with Johnny, it was so clear that his occupation was, I mean, pulling no punches. He's a kingpin, you know. But the archetypes of a kingpin are also he's the head of a household. You know what I'm saying? He's an older brother. He's a husband. He's a businessman. He's a president of a company. You know what I'm saying? So all these things wrapped into this one fella just seems so beautiful. And I really wanted an opportunity to show all those things inside of the package of, you know, a dope dealer, which is also what he is. It's about family, and it's about survival, you know, and people trying to make it by any means necessary, you know, and everybody has their toolkit. You know, the couriers have their toolkit, and we make it happen the way we make it happen, and that happens to be through not just the drug game, but through politics and et cetera. And then you have the Wershe family, and they're trying to make it work on their end, you know, and that's through VCRs or what have you. You know what I'm saying? You got the FBI who's trying to make it happen for themselves, you know, and that's through trying to keep order, you know, quote unquote. So it's about survival and everybody trying to move up through the ranks to make it in the 80s in America. He brings a certain amount of untouched authenticity. You know, I watch him work, and he's working at a frequency that, you know, people work very hard hours to get to, you know, and it's just coming to him naturally. You know, it's not even coming to him, he's just allowing it to shine. Yan is an animal. What I love most about Yan is his focus and his playfulness. You know, that you can never really take it too seriously, you know, and yet what we're doing is serious business, you know. And the stories we're telling are very high stakes, and he has a sense of the stakes in actually shooting a movie and the stakes in the art of what we're doing.
You know, I knew Rick's father, Rick Sr., and we go there to try to pressure him initially to, you know, help us with what we're trying to do in our agenda, so to speak. And then when we realize that his kid is very connected on the street, we start to utilize, you know, him and his connections. They definitely put the pressure on him. You know, he's a 15-year-old kid. You want to protect your father. You want to do right by the things that you know and keep everything on the up and up. But, you know, I'm sure it can be a little daunting, the idea of if you don't help out, you know, your father might be arrested or something, you know, might come down the pipe that's not, it keeps your life out of balance. Richie, you gotta, you know, take your hat off to the kid because he's from Baltimore. You know, they picked him out of a year-long search for an actor to play this role. If he doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. Well, you know, me and Matthew haven't worked together in 25 years. So doing scenes is obviously a pleasure with Matthew. I mean, he's a friend of mine. But, you know, I kind of had to bite my cheek a couple of times because he just was going to make me crack up, you know, during the scene. But I love watching him work. And yeah, it's been kind of a nice deal.
Yan and I went to visit him. We talked to him on the phone regularly. We'd ask him tons of questions. You know, he didn't necessarily have to read every single draft, but when we felt we had a draft that was ready, we absolutely shared it with him. He gave us some notes, some feedback, you know, but it was really just like we'd go to visit Rick and you'd just hear these stories that he tells. And you know, not the stories about the drugs or even the cops, but even like his family stories, about stories with his dad or when he was a kid with his sister. It's a coming-of-age story, and it's a father-son story, and it's a family story. I mean, we were very focused on not making this just another drug dealer movie, another gangster movie, another crime story, but really get to, I mean, you know, he was a boy, you know, so it's really getting to the heart and getting to the family of it and the soul, and that's really important to us. What I've really seen in his work is an authenticity. You know, it's authentic, it's raw, it's gritty, and he really does an incredible job in capturing the moment and at the same time the heart and soul of what you're trying to say. Working with Matthew's great. You know, it's you never know what you're going to get when you work with a movie star. And I mean, Matthew has been fantastic. He's been a gentleman, a professional. His work on camera speaks for itself. But he's also been, you know, in when you talk about Richie, he's really been nurturing and he's really been helpful, and he's really, you know, been coaching him. And you know, you see how he is with the crew. I mean, he's just one of the guys, you know, and how he's treated the city of Cleveland. I mean, he really gives back. I mean, he's as special an actor as I've ever worked with, without a doubt.
At its purest, this film is about the love of this young boy and his father and how they navigate this world and how they survive. Richie isn't trying to be anyone but himself. Richie is who he is, and he brings that to Rick, who I think, granted, Rick is trying to blend in, but he sticks out like a sore thumb because he wasn't meant to blend in. He's special. Rick is special, Richie's special. Richie brings what's special about Rick to the screen. I wanted to be a part of it because I feel like it's a movement, and I feel like Rick's story, he deserves to be seen and heard. I mean, he was a little boy. He's a kid. Like, what did I know at 15, 14, 13?
I look at it like he got taken advantage of by the police, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause he was so young and all that. Richie, man, Richie a superstar, bro. That's the young homie. Like, he shocked me too, because I'm like, damn, like, he was like 15, 14, 15, 16, shooting a movie and all that. But you know, like he young, but he from the street, so he really carry himself like a little older, you know what I'm saying? Because he from the streets, and that's how it goes when you out in the streets. It's like you gonna experience life faster and just different, and you around older people and all that. So Richie was like a young dude. He young, but he on deck.
What interested me really is when I started to hear about the father-son relationship and a family trying to survive abject poverty in the face of a lack of choice, a lack of options. And, you know, I was new to living in America, and it was like, it started to feel when I was talking to him, certainly, that, you know, there's this lot, the father really believed in the promise of America, and this time next year we could be rich, we could turn our fortunes around, and if we do the right thing, it will come good. But there was like this, it feels like there was a bit of a lie. Like, you know, when you're born into abject poverty, you can't really transcend your lot in life. Not with the options they were facing, the choices, the lack of choices they had. When I spoke to him, to the real Rick, the thing that hooked me in was the dynamic, the relationship with him and his father and his sister. And then the relationship with the Currys and, you know, the local community. He was completely embedded, and they were like an extension of his family. And I saw an opportunity to draw a parallel between the Wershes and the Currys. Like, here are two families trying to survive a landscape with a lack of choice. I mean, this was the American dream city, Detroit. When I told him I found this kid from Baltimore, born into arguably abject poverty, you know, broken home, difficult circumstances, never done it before, 15 years old, had never even done a drama class, was failing at school, was going to get thrown out. And when I told him about his background, and very similar, he was facing a very similar trajectory to the real Rick, and he was amazed. He was like, if my life can somehow, if the one good thing that comes out of this is that my life somehow has changed the trajectory of this kid, that's amazing. And he was very emotional and heartfelt when he said that, and that was a moment. When I screen tested him with the kid, from the word go, he took Richie under his arm, under his wing. You know, he really nurtured him, looked after him. Not too paternal, you know, just like not patronizing in that respect, just giving him guidance and making him feel confident, comfortable.
Hey, Vale here with some cool movie facts on the efforts some actors go to create the characters they play. For the role of Roger Kint, Kevin Spacey glued his fingers together in the film The Usual Suspects to give his left hand the feeling of paralysis. To prepare for his role in the film The Mask of Zorro, Antonio Banderas practiced with the Olympic fencing team in Spain for 4 months. Natalie Portman, for the role as Nina Sayers in Black Swan, trained with former New York City ballet dancer Mary Helen Bowers for up to 8 hours a day, 6 days a week for over a year ahead of shooting the film. Adrian Brody, for his role in The Pianist, gave up his apartment, sold his car and moved to Europe with only 2 bags, so he could get familiar with his character's discomfort. He also went on a crash diet and lost 30 pounds in 6 weeks, weighing 130 pounds at his lightest during shooting. Whoa. Okay, so if you want to watch more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you receive the videos the moment they are online. Bye bye.